The main basis of this article was to say that we must never lose hope. As Christians, as Catholics, our biggest gift is the gift of hope, because Christ is hope.
Sometimes we're curious, we want to read the satisfaction in the congregation's faces, but that's not what it's about. As a choir, we're celebrating Mass with the congregation. We're celebrating and facilitating an environment for all of us to feel closer to God.
Do I, at the beginning of the month, think and pray and discern about how much I want to give God, whether it be through the church or any other means? Or do I simply give without thinking too much what spare change I have?
When I see my place, actually my parish is a not too big but small parish. But when I look at my people that time, there's a need of a priest to be with them.
This is HERALD Voices, where we speak to our guest writers and columnists about their articles in this week's issue, dated July 14th, 2024. This week we have newly ordained priest Fr Jerry Muhamat, Fr Gerard Theraviam, and Karen-Michaela and Judy Rozario. The title of this episode is Answering the Call. This is not just to a religious vocation, but to also serve in our parish and community, or even to give back part of what we've earned. We'll unpack this a little more as we speak to our guests, starting with Karen, whose article is titled Schooled by Christ. Karen talks about her experience with Catholic teachers in school, and I wanted to know what was the motivation behind her article.
I think it's really important to shine a light on the educators in our system. The school system, the public school system, has got such bad brickbats. It's been the whipping boy of so many in our society. And I am a mother of a child who is in the public school system. I see the great flaws of the system, but I'm also hopeful because there are good things in the system. The reason why I've decided to keep my child in the public school system is not so much for the level of education, but it is because there is a great learning to be had. It teaches you how to be more human. It teaches you how to be more relatable as a Malaysian. It also teaches you how to speak to different ranks of social economic subsets, so to speak, And it really helps when you have a great teacher, someone who is always in your corner, somebody who you can trust, and someone you can run to. I think being Catholic or a Christian teacher in a public school system allows a person to truly, truly carry Christ into their workplace.
Most people would want to move their children away from the public school system. But of course, when we hear stories of parents who've had exemplary teachers, you of course wrote about one or two of them in your article. Do you want to speak a little bit more about those teachers?
Yeah, it began when I was a student in Catholic school. It began with a very exemplary headmistress, a woman who, in this day and age, you don't see the headmaster, headmistress as anything but a figurehead in the school. In the days that I went to convent school, it was very different because headmistress, headmasters were still Catholic, were still nominally chosen, okayed by a school board, which was linked to the Catholic Church. It doesn't happen anymore. In those days, it did, and I was at the tag end of that. And I was very lucky to actually have this amazing headmistress who taught me so much about life. And she formed an opinion early in my young days. I was only, I guess when you're in primary school, you're like in primary school from 6 to 11, 6 to 12, right? And it was in these days that you are still very much open to suggestion about how to live life, how to move forward as an adult. And you're being shaped, you're being molded, even without knowing it. And it's only when you look back, when you're an adult looking back, then you realize, oh, this is where my feelings, my strong feelings for certain things, for parity, for charity, for inclusion, for a social justice system in the school system has come from. And that was from my headmistress, Eunice Chow, who taught me in primary school. And then now, as we move forward and I see my child being in a public school, in secondary school, and then having the great comfort of having a teacher looking out for you, and it's a teacher who might or might not teach you, but he's involved in her life in all sorts of ways, the extracurricular, the English language club, as a guest English speaker. And he has been very instrumental in being a friend to a student who might be very friendless because they are young, they're in this horrible, ugly duckling stage of their lives, and they don't feel comfortable speaking to a parent or to a relative. But there's this teacher, and that teacher doesn't necessarily have a direct line of authority over them because he's not their English teacher, but he's head of English. And so through some way, they come in contact with him. And to have him in her life is very special.
You wrote, I trust in that one Christian teacher in any school who carries Christ in him or herself, who is brave enough to swim against the current of apathy and dare to care. Tell me about this hope and how can we shift our thinking to be more positive? I mean, I don't know if this is fair to say that teachers, Christian teachers, are sort of like diminishing in the presence of public schools. Tell us about this hope that you have.
Well, I don't think there is a diminishment of Christian or Catholic teachers in the public school system. I think that they have always existed in the system. They have just become a little bit more rare because there have been much more schools being built. There are much more places to encounter a Catholic or a Christian teacher. But the main basis of this article was to say that we must never lose hope. As Christians, as Catholics, our biggest gift is the gift of hope, because Christ is hope. To have God in our lives is to have hope. You cannot be a Christian, you cannot be a Catholic professing to believe in God, the Father Almighty, to believe that, in the availability of daily bread and not have hope, right? So hope is very, very important in parenting, as well as in the trust that you give to the school system, and the few teachers who make an impact on your child's life. I think it's very important that our children also understand that although the system is not ideal, there are glimmers of hope and there are good people in the system. You just have to maybe work a little bit harder to find those people.
Trusting in divine providence, right?
Absolutely.
Do check out Karen's article in the Herald this week on page 13. Fr Gerard Theraviam and Fr Jerry Muhamat on the way, but first, also on page 13, we have Judy Rozario. Judy's article is titled The Power of Song, How the Choir Shaped My Relationship with Christ. Judy talks about the benefits of being in a church choir and how she got closer to the Lord. In her article, she mentioned that her choir mistress always reminded her group that it was not a performance. What did she mean, Judy?
Sometimes we're worried and our minds are fogged with thoughts. Like, how do I sound? Will someone count me in? Will I miss the cue? Am I in tune? I think these are all natural thoughts that plague choir members because of our fear of making mistakes and being singled out. I interpret what my choir mistress said as being fully present for God. When we sing, it's not to achieve a sense of pride or achievement. We were asked to focus on the words in front of us, the lyrics to the hymns, and not look around at other people trying to guess their reactions. Sometimes we're curious, we want to read the satisfaction in the congregation's faces, but that's not what it's about. As a choir, we're celebrating Mass with the congregation. We're celebrating and facilitating an environment for all of us to feel closer to God.
I also asked Judy how being in a choir had impacted her life.
So joining the choir, I got to meet tons of people my age, and we had a lot of common interests. Music was one of them. We always had something to look forward to, so it wasn't just learning new songs, it was sometimes celebrating a friend's birthday and finding out you have hobbies together, and really it was a nice little community that we had for ourselves. It was our own little world.
Many of us like to sing. We may do it in the car or in our rooms, but won't consider ourselves as choir material. Judy, what would you say to those who have some inclination to join the choir?
I think we need to rethink this narrative and ask ourselves, why do we judge and why do we compare? I know it's human nature, so we judge ourselves a little bit too harshly, but we're all made in the image of God, so that's good enough, right? I think there's a place for everyone in the choir, and if you have the time and capacity, it's something that has the potential to change your life.
Thanks, Judy. Once again, her article is on page 13. Now, we might be called to serve in the church, maybe in the choir or in our school as a student, teacher or parent, but do you think there's a call for us to share part of what we've earned with the church? Fr Gerard's article is titled Giving All You've Got. Wow, all is not an easy decision, especially when it's for something such as a building project. Father, why is it difficult for us to part with our money?
I do tease my parishioners that there is always money available for the Magnificat project, but the money is not with me, the money is in their pockets. And this is a reality. The fact is that the money is in the hands of our parishioners. Sometimes they're reluctant to give because maybe their priorities are different. And perhaps we need to think about planned giving. By planned giving, I don't really mean tithing, because tithing sounds as if there is a fixed amount involved. But do I, at the beginning of the month, think and pray and discern about how much I want to give God, whether it be through the church or any other means, or do I simply give without thinking too much what spare change I have? I think we need to be thinking more seriously about my quantum of giving and the why of my giving.
Father Gerard, can you give us an update on the progress of the Magnificat building? When will it be ready?
The Magnificat will be ready by the end of the year. And yes, we've got to find the money. I don't want to go into debt with the diocese, and I think that yes, we can find the money from our own resources, from our people, and from all well-wishers who might want to be part of this, because it's not just about a church building. It's about a community building that will serve not just Catholics, but people around us as well, including the poor. So that's my hope.
That was Father Gerard Theraviam, the parish priest of St. John's Cathedral in Kuala Lumpur. His article is titled Giving All You've Got on page 14 of this week's issue. We also highlighted the story of the first priest being ordained from Magatal, Sabah. Fr Jerry Joseph Muhamat also wrote his vocation story titled I Met God in Different Situations on page 12. Recently, I caught up with him to talk a bit more about his journey.
Apakah perasaan atau how do you feel after being ordained as a priest?
I think I feel blessed because it's not about that I'm finally ordained as a priest, but because God, because my ordination comes from God lah. He chose me as to be his servant. So I feel blessed and feel grateful for this ordination, and I thank God for this.
Fr Jerry, you said when you want to decide to masuk the seminary, it's like agak sukar. What is the halangan that stop you from actually want to enter the seminary?
Okay, because that time, before I decide to enter seminary, actually there's a lot of things I need to think about. So there's two things actually. First, my work or my job at that time, and also my family, especially my parents, especially my mother, my mom. Actually, my mom not really in the beginning not really agree for me to enter seminary because she worried that if anything happens in the on my formation, it she worried about my future lah, actually. So during that period, it's very difficult for me lah to like to live my life as normal, because the calling is become more obvious and more stronger. So that's why what I did that time is just pray to God and ask God to to lead me where I am supposed to go lah that time. So until in I think in 2015, then I decided to enter seminary after my mom agreed that time for me to enter seminary.
Do you know what
Yes?
changed your mother's mind?
No. I don't know, but when I enter seminary, it's not my focus to be a priest at the first place. I just want to okay, I want to enjoy my journey in the seminary, see how far I can go.
Did you feel any time that you want to quit?
Yes, many times in seminary. Actually, every year I feel like, okay, I want to quit lah. Okay, this year is my last year. Finally, is my last year for me to be here. But I don't know why after after end of the year, then when I met my bishop, I don't know when my bishop said, "Do you still have the vocation?" Then I said, "Yes, I still have." So I think God still called me that time, and then also from my brother's support, the two of them, Father George and Father Nakuda Kennedy from Peningau, and George is from Penang. I think from because of them, they support me and then encourage me. That I think also part of it helped me to continue my formation, my journey in this in seminary.
You are the first from Menggatal menjadi padri.
Yes.
From your view, how is this going to impact maybe other people from Menggatal or even the areas in Sabah to encourage them to become follow in your footsteps?
In the first place, when I say yes to my vocation, actually, when I see my place, actually my parish is not too big but small parish. But when I look at my people that time, there's a need of a priest to be with them. So when I say yes, my vocation, I hope that with my through my ordination, I hope that many young people actually inspired, especially in my place, inspired to be a priest, because actually many of them wanted to join, actually to say yes, but because of the environment and sometimes they give a high expectation to the seminarians or to the person itself, that if you enter seminary you must be a priest. So for me, during my time, I always remind my parishioners that doesn't mean when I enter seminary I must be a priest. Surely I be a priest. No, I just ask them to pray for me, pray for more vocations. So with my ordination, when I celebrated my first mass in Menggatal that time, I encourage the young people actually to take up to say yes for this vocation, for those who have a calling to be a priest. Then ask them to not be afraid to say yes, because if this calling is meant for you, God will help you to go through the formation, actually.
Father Jerry, I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much for the Herald to put my story, vocation story. So hopefully people will inspired with the story that I said.
That wraps up our first episode of Herald Voices. It's our audio-only content that will feature the columnists and guest writers in the Herald. Do join me next week when I speak to other writers. But if any of these topics interest you, get your copy of the Herald in your parish this weekend.